All right, so just imagine leading a country, okay, at war.
Yeah.
A war that's, like, dragged on, right, for 3 years. 3 grueling years. And that is a situation that Volodymyr Zelensky is in.
Wow.
We are going to dive deep, deep, deep into this report that we have on the Ukraine-Russia war, focusing on his stance, right, on peace.
Peace. Okay.
And the high-stakes game that is being played on the world stage. We got, like, multiple reports, different analyses, and even some stuff, some intel that was leaked that we're going to try to unpack here.
Oh, wow.
So get ready, folks, because we're going to give you some serious insight today.
Okay, so it is 2025.
25.
And the situation, like, in Ukraine, it is still very volatile.
Volatile.
The human cost of this war, it's really staggering. I mean, millions of people, millions have been displaced.
Millions.
Countless lives have been lost.
Lost.
And just vast, vast parts of Ukraine are under Russian occupation.
It's like those numbers are sometimes, like, they're hard to grasp, you know?
Yeah.
The report, what it says is that Russia controls, like, 20%?
20%.
A full 20% of Ukraine,
God.
including Crimea.
Oh, right, Crimea.
Which they annexed back in 2014.
2014.
And, you know, despite all these, like, valiant counteroffensives from Ukraine, this conflict seems to be just locked, just stuck in this brutal stalemate.
Stalemate, yeah.
That, like, makes you wonder, what does peace even look like now at this point?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Putin, he's offered these peace deals.
Okay, so peace deals.
But the terms are, like, I don't know, they're very vague and ambiguous.
Vague and ambiguous.
And, you know, they've been consistently rejected by Ukraine.
Yeah.
To try to understand why, I think we have to look closer at those terms.
All right, so let's dig into that then. What's he actually putting on the table?
I think if we kind of, like, decipher the signals,
The signals, yeah.
it seems that what Putin is demanding is that Ukraine, they have to recognize those annexed territories as Russian.
Okay.
Right. Permanently relinquish any, you know, hope of joining NATO.
Yeah.
And fully disarm.
Absolutely.
Essentially, what he's saying is he's demanding that Ukraine just cease to exist.
As a sovereign nation.
As a sovereign nation, right.
And so it's really no surprise that that Zelensky, right, and the Ukrainian people, I mean, they've refused to even consider those terms.
Right.
I mean, they've fought tooth and nail for their survival.
Yeah, they have.
And to concede to those demands, that would be just like a complete betrayal of, you know, everything they've sacrificed.
Exactly, yeah. Zelensky's stance, I mean, it's been crystal clear from the start. I mean, he's demanding the restoration, right?
Restoration, yeah.
Of Ukraine's territorial integrity.
Integrity, right.
Ironclad security guarantees, like no compromise on that.
Yeah.
And then accountability for every single one of the Russian war crimes. All of them.
Ideally, what he really wants is NATO membership.
NATO membership, right.
But that's a major sticking point.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
But here's where things get a little intriguing.
Intriguing.
There are whispers, rumors swirling that, you know, Zelensky might be willing to resign.
Resign.
Okay.
Wow.
If it secures peace, or if it paves the way for Ukraine to join NATO. Now, is this a strategic bluff?
Yeah.
Right. Is it some kind of, like, desperate gamble? Or, I mean, is it something else entirely?
It's really hard to say. I mean, even the fact that these rumors exist, right?
Yeah.
It just shows you the kind of, like, immense pressure Zelensky is facing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to balance the immediate needs of his people with, you know, the long-term survival of the nation.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget that he's dealing with a population that is war-weary.
Yeah, I mean, even the most resilient people, they have their limit.
They break.
Yeah.
I mean, the report actually cites a poll.
A poll. Oh, wow.
From 2024.
Okay.
Showing that 52% of Ukrainians now are in favor of some sort of negotiated peace.
But it's really crucial to understand the nuance there.
Okay, the nuance.
You know, because in that same poll, right?
Yeah.
It showed that the vast, vast majority of Ukrainians, they're still vehemently opposed to giving up any land, any territory to Russia.
Permanently, yeah.
Yeah, permanently, right.
So
it's an incredibly complex situation, and he's walking this tightrope. Trying to represent his people's desire for peace, but without compromising, their core principles.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act.
Balancing act.
Right.
Right.
With global implications, too.
Yeah.
We can't talk about this war, right, without considering the role of, the major players, especially the United States.
Oh, absolutely. And under the Trump administration,
The Trump administration, yeah.
America's role has become like even more unpredictable.
Unpredictable, okay.
I mean, the U.S. remains Ukraine's biggest backer,
Right.
right? They're pouring, billions of dollars into military and financial aid.
Billions.
But Trump, he's made it very clear that he prioritizes a swift resolution to this conflict.
A swift resolution.
Yeah, like almost at any cost.
Almost at any cost.
And he's even suggested, right, that Ukraine should utilize its rich mineral resources, things like titanium,
lithium, yeah.
to repay the aid that they've received.
That's quite a proposition.
Yeah.
And it just adds another layer of complexity, right?
It does.
To an already tangled situation.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that Trump has been engaging in these like direct negotiations.
Oh,
right,
okay.
with Putin.
Putin, okay.
Sometimes, like, excluding Ukraine from the conversations,
Yeah.
from these crucial conversations.
Yeah, that's right. So, and this, this raises some critical questions, right?
Yeah.
About America's true commitment
Right.
to Ukraine's, self-determination.
Yeah.
Are they really truly invested in a just and lasting peace for Ukraine?
Right.
Or are their own interests kind of taking precedence, right?
Taking
And
precedent.
potentially pushing Ukraine into a corner.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And the whole world is watching to see like how this plays out.
Yeah.
Europe, of course, they're also they're deeply involved.
Yes. Yeah. European nations, especially, the NATO members.
Yeah.
They've been stepping up.
Stepping up.
Yeah, with support,
Support, yeah.
financially, militarily,
Uh-huh.
but they simply just don't have the resources, right,
Huh?
to fully replace the U.S. if they were to pull back.
Pull back, right.
The UN, meanwhile,
UN.
they remain largely symbolic, right?
Yeah.
Offering, condemnation, but
Condemnation, but
lacking any real enforcement power.
so it seems like everyone agrees that something needs to be done.
Yeah.
But there's no clear consensus on what that something should be.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The world needs to figure out a way to, provide unwavering support to Ukraine while also applying pressure on both sides.
Both sides, yeah.
To try to get them to reach a sustainable solution.
Sustainable.
Because, make no mistake about it,
Yeah.
this conflict, it has ramifications.
Ramifications, right.
That extend way, way beyond Ukraine's borders.
So let's circle back then
Okay.
to Zelensky and that looming question of his resignation.
Yeah, his resignation.
What happens, right, if he genuinely decides to step down, especially if a peace deal, that he deems unacceptable is on the table?
Well, even if Zelensky says, "Look, I'm willing to resign," it's not an automatic process.
It's not automatic, right?
No. Ukraine is under martial law, right?
Martial law.
Which has extended his presidency.
Extended it.
And holding an election during an active war.
Yeah.
It's practically impossible.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But we also can't ignore the fact that that public trust, right?
Yeah, public trust.
In Zelensky, it has eroded over these long years of war.
Yeah.
Those polls that we mentioned earlier,
Right.
they do show a dip, right, in his approval ratings.
Yeah.
So,
And this brings us to a potential successor.
a potential successor.
A figure that's been gaining some traction.
Okay.
Valery Zelensky, the former military chief
Okay.
who currently is Ukraine's ambassador to the UK.
Okay. I've heard his name mentioned before.
Yeah.
What's the buzz about him?
So Zelensky, he commands this immense respect within the military.
Okay.
And he polls really favorably with the public.
Okay. Favorably.
So some are speculating, right, that
Yeah.
he might be a bit more amenable, right?
Amenable, yeah.
To negotiations, particularly if like the Western powers are pushing for a resolution.
A resolution.
Even if it means some compromises.
Compromises.
Yeah.
But wouldn't a leadership change,
Mm-hmm.
especially during such a volatile time?
Right.
I mean, wouldn't that just like introduce even more uncertainty into the equation?
Yeah.
Could it like destabilize Ukraine
Mm.
at the worst possible moment?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
It is. A new leader, right?
Yeah.
Especially one that maybe has a different approach, right?
Different approach.
It could empower some of those rival politicians who favor a more hardline stance against Russia.
A hard line.
But in a worst case scenario,
Yeah.
it could even lead to like internal divisions
Yeah.
that fracture Ukraine, right?
Fracture Ukraine.
Making them even more vulnerable.
So we're looking at like this situation with really no easy answers here.
No.
On the one hand, right?
Yeah.
There's this potential for peace,
Potential for peace.
but it's likely, right?
Yeah.
At a price that Ukraine just finds unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
On the other hand,
On the other
we're faced with the grim reality
the grim reality.
of a war that could just drag on
Drag on
indefinitely.
indefinitely.
And what would that mean for Ukraine?
Yeah.
What would that mean for the world?
Yeah.
This report paints a pretty bleak picture of what a prolonged war would look like.
It does. I mean, the cost would be devastating.
Devastating.
I mean, we're potentially talking about hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
And more lives lost.
More lives lost.
Yeah. Essential infrastructure just I mean, reduced to rubble.
Rubble.
And just further exodus.
Kind of exodus.
That's pretty deep.
It's hard to even imagine, the toll
Yeah.
that would take on the Ukrainian people.
It is.
Can you help us kind of understand like what they're facing?
They're living under this constant threat.
Constant threat.
With this ever-present fear of bombardment.
They're struggling
Struggling.
to find food, shelter.
Yeah.
Basic necessities.
The basics.
Yeah. They're trying to hold on to some semblance, right?
Semblance of
Normalcy in a world that's just been turned upside down.
Upside down.
And as this war drags on,
Yeah. We have to consider that the risk of war fatigue is just growing.
war fatigue, right?
And that could lead to, increased draft resistance.
The raft resistance.
And even a breakdown of governmental authority.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
And I think it's important for all of us listening to take a moment, right?
Yeah.
And just try to imagine what it would be like,
Yeah.
to live under that constant pressure.
Yeah.
That ever-present threat.
Yeah. And it's crucial to remember,
Yeah.
that this war has repercussions far beyond Ukraine's borders.
Beyond
There's the risk of escalation.
escalation, yeah.
Potentially drawing NATO, right?
NATO
Directly into the conflict.
into the conflict.
I mean, we could see Ukraine, using Western supplied weapons to strike deep inside Russia.
Deep inside Russia.
Which, I mean, that's a move that could have unpredictable, dangerous consequences.
That's a chilling thought.
Yeah.
And then there's the economic fallout.
The economic fallout.
To consider.
Right.
I mean, this report really highlights the global impact.
Yeah, the global impact this war is having.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about like disrupted grain and energy markets.
Yeah.
Which are fueling, inflation worldwide.
Worldwide.
The global economy, it's interconnected.
Interconnected, yeah.
And this war is just sending like shockwaves through every sector.
And what if Russia actually manages
Yeah.
to achieve a decisive victory,
Right.
or what if the West they just become exhausted by the costs and the risks,
Yeah.
and they decide to scale back
Right.
their support for Ukraine.
I mean, those are like nightmare scenarios.
Nightmare scenarios
With far-reaching consequences.
Far-reaching, right.
A Russian victory.
Yeah.
Or even just the perception.
Yeah.
Perception.
That the West is abandoning Ukraine.
Right.
I mean, it would embolden, these authoritarian regimes around the world. It would signal that, aggression pays off.
Pays off.
And that the international rules-based order, it's crumbling.
Crumbling, yeah.
I mean, look at China, right?
That's China, yeah.
And their ambitions towards Taiwan.
Right.
Yeah.
So even a stalemate, right?
Yeah, a stalemate.
While it's like preferable
Yeah.
to a Russian victory.
Right.
I mean, it comes at like this horrific cost.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah. A stalemate might weaken Putin in the long run,
Okay.
but it would be like this Pyrrhic victory.
A Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah. Achieved through unimaginable suffering and global instability.
It seems like Zelensky is truly caught between like a rock and a hard place here.
Yeah.
Peace hinges on Russia offering like acceptable terms, right?
Yeah.
Which seems unlikely.
It does.
And the U.S. and the rest of the world, they're playing like this pivotal role, right? But their motives and their strategies, they aren't always clear.
Right.
So the stakes couldn't be higher.
No.
And the consequences, right?
The consequence
of each potential path. I mean, they're just profound.
They are.
We'll delve deeper into those consequences in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But for now, I want to leave you with this question. If you were in Zelensky's shoes, okay?
Yeah.
If you were facing these impossible choices, what would you do? Would you prioritize peace?
Yeah.
At any cost?
Any cost.
Even if it meant, sacrificing your nation's sovereignty and their security.
Okay.
Or would you fight on, knowing that it means more suffering,
Right.
for your people?
Right.
These are the questions that keep Zelensky up at night.
Yeah.
And they're questions we all need to grapple with.
We do.
As we try to understand this complex and tragic conflict.
Yeah. I mean, it's a question that, it goes beyond just Zelensky, though, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean, this war has kind of forced us all to really confront the complexities, right? The complexities of international relations in a way that we haven't seen in decades.
It feels like, that this conflict,
Yeah.
it's become like a focal point for all these like simmering,
yeah.
global tensions that were already like brewing
right.
before the invasion.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Remember, I mean, before the war, there was this sense that the global power balance, it was shifting.
It was shifting, yeah.
I mean, the U.S.'s role as like the dominant world power,
Yeah.
it was being questioned.
It was being questioned.
And at the same time, China was, they were steadily increasing their influence.
Thanks to their influence.
And then Putin's invasion of Ukraine, I mean, it threw everything into disarray.
It was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Right. It was a stark reminder that military aggression, right?
Yeah.
It's still a very, very real threat.
It is.
In the 21st century.
It is.
And it forced everyone,
yeah.
to reassess like their positions on the world stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Was it for the United States?
with the U.S., it became this test of their
commitment, right?
to democracy and to the international order that they helped establish after World War II,
right?
Stepping up to support Ukraine. That was a way for them to kind of like reaffirm their global leadership role.
Reaffirm, yeah.
But now with Trump,
yeah,
pushing for this quick resolution,
right?
It raises these questions about how deep that commitment really runs.
Especially if that resolution comes at the expense of Ukrainian sovereignty,
Yeah.
and their right to determine their own future.
Exactly. Yeah. And for Europe, I mean, this war has been this harsh reminder of their own vulnerabilities.
Their vulnerabilities, yeah.
I mean, they've had to rethink, the defense strategies. They've had to increase military spending, and they've had to wean themselves off of Russian energy.
Yeah.
And this has led to, a renewed sense of unity within NATO.
Exactly.
But also, there's been some internal friction.
Friction.
Yeah, as these countries kind of grapple with the costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the risks, right?
Yeah.
Of supporting Ukraine.
What about Russia? How has this war like impacted them?
Yeah.
Putin clearly he miscalculated.
Yeah.
On a lot of fronts.
On a lot of fronts, yeah. I mean, on the surface, Putin, he might have thought, okay, this is going to be a swift victory.
Swift victory.
Right.
A decisive move, right?
Yeah.
To kind of reassert Russian dominance in the region.
Dominance.
Right. And to prevent Ukraine from, aligning with the West.
Aligning, yeah.
But it has backfired.
Backfired spectacularly.
I mean, the initial invasion, it was met with, much fiercer resistance than a lot of people anticipated, and the sanctions that followed. I mean, they've crippled the Russian economy.
Yeah.
It's safe to say that this has not gone according to Putin's plan. It has not. I mean, the Russian military, they've suffered heavy losses.
Heavy losses.
And it's kind of exposed these weaknesses, right? That were previously underestimated.
Underestimated, right.
And instead of dividing NATO like he thought it would, right?
Right.
The invasion has actually strengthened the alliance.
Strengthened.
And it's expanded its reach.
Expanded. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, with Finland and Sweden abandoning their long-held neutrality.
And joining NATO.
Yeah.
So in a way, has this war been like a
lose-lose situation for everyone involved?
Yeah.
In many ways, yeah. But it's also been this catalyst.
A catalyst for some like unexpected shifts.
Unexpected, okay.
In the global landscape.
In the global landscape.
I mean, we've seen countries like Germany,
Germany,
which historically has been hesitant.
Yeah.
To really take a strong, military stand.
Military stand.
They've now committed to like this major increase.
Oh, wow.
In defense spending.
Yeah, it's almost like this conflict, right? It's kind of exposed the fault lines
The fault line.
in the global system.
Yeah.
And it's forced everyone to kind of like reevaluate their priorities and their alliances.
And of course, we can't forget the global economic implications here.
Oh no, we can't forget that. No, the ripple effects of this war, I mean, they're being felt everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
I mean, from food prices, to energy markets, to the growing, refugee crisis. I mean, millions of Ukrainians have been displaced,
right?
Seeking refuge in neighboring countries.
It's heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
To see families like torn apart.
Yeah.
People forced to leave, everything behind. And the strain, right? That it's putting on resources and social systems.
Yeah, and then there's like the specter, right? Of nuclear escalation. I mean, Russia possesses like this vast, nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, their arsenal.
And the possibility, right?
Yeah.
That those weapons could be used even in like a limited tactical capacity. I mean, that's a terrifying thought.
It is terrifying.
And it's understandably rattled nerves,
Yeah.
worldwide.
Okay, so we've talked about, the potential for Zelensky to resign, but frankly, I mean, that just feels like, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah, right.
If we don't address the core issue here, which is how does this war actually end?
Right.
I mean, this report laid out a few scenarios. Okay. And each one is like more grim than the last.
I mean, there are a few possibilities,
Yeah.
Each one with its own set of challenges and consequences. Right. So one scenario is this negotiated settlement.
Okay, negotiated settlement.
Where both sides, they agree to a ceasefire.
A ceasefire.
And some form of political compromise.
But based on everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a long shot, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I mean, neither side really seems willing to back down.
Yeah.
And the demands just seem irreconcilable.
Yeah, it's a difficult path, to say the least.
Difficult path?
Yeah, I mean, Russia would need to withdraw from the occupied territories.
Yeah.
And offer like genuine security guarantees.
Yeah.
To Ukraine. And Ukraine would need to accept something less than a complete victory.
Less than a complete victory.
Yeah, potentially involving, territorial concessions.
Yeah. And let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
With Trump's his America First approach, right?
Yeah.
And his focus on this swift resolution. I mean, it's hard to imagine,
Right.
him pushing Putin to make the kinds of concessions that Ukraine would need for a just and lasting peace.
Yeah, that's the big unknown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Trump's unpredictable nature
Unpredictable.
and his transactional approach to foreign policy,
Yeah.
it makes it really difficult to gauge,
Yeah.
what he's truly willing to push for.
To push for, yeah.
I mean, he might, he might leverage his relationship with Putin to broker a deal.
Right.
But it's equally possible that he'll prioritize this quick resolution.
A quick resolution.
That favors Russia.
Favors Russia, right.
And leaves Ukraine in a very vulnerable position.
So what happens if a negotiated settlement just falls apart?
Right.
What are the alternatives?
Well, second scenario.
Okay, second scenario.
Is this prolonged war of attrition.
Prolonged war of attrition.
Where the conflict, it just drags on.
Drags on.
For years.
Yeah.
And neither side is able to achieve a decisive victory.
So like a stalemate.
Yeah, essentially it's a bleak prospect.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially it's this slow bleed.
A slow bleed.
That just drains the resources of both countries.
Yeah.
And just exacerbates,
Exacerbates
global instability.
And for Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, it would mean enduring,
Yeah.
years, potentially decades.
Decades. Yeah.
Of death, of destruction. Of displacement.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine any nation withstanding like that relentless assault.
Yeah.
On its people, on its infrastructure,
on its very soul, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a war of attrition.
It's
a brutal and agonizing test of endurance.
Yeah.
It's not just about, military strength.
It's about
It's about the will of the people.
The will of the people.
Right.
Yeah,
Their ability to endure unimaginable suffering.
Unimaginable.
And to maintain their resolve. In the face of constant hardship.
It's difficult to even fathom the toll that would take.
Right.
Not just on the current generation, right?
Yeah.
But on generations, to come.
You're right. I mean, the psychological, the social, the economic scars, right, of such a prolonged conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, they would run deep.
Yeah.
And have lasting consequences.
Okay, so a negotiated settlement, right?
Yeah.
Seems unlikely. And a war of attrition, I mean, it's a recipe.
Yeah.
For prolonged suffering.
Yeah.
Is there any other way? I mean, is there any other way that this could play out?
Well, there's a third scenario.
Okay, a third scenario.
And it's the most dangerous one.
The most dangerous.
It involves a major escalation.
Major escalation. Okay.
Of the conflict.
So we're talking about the nuclear option here.
Yeah.
The one that everyone has been trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean this could involve Russia, right? Resorting to using tactical nuclear weapons.
Tactical nukes.
Maybe in like a desperate attempt, right?
Right.
To break the stalemate or to intimidate, the West into backing down.
Or it could involve the conflict spilling over, into NATO territory.
Cheeto territory.
Either intentionally or through some kind of miscalculation. Right. Triggering this wider war. With just catastrophic consequences.
Catastrophic, yeah.
Right.
I mean, Article 5, right? Article of the NATO treaty.
Yeah.
It states that an attack on one member is considered an attack on all members.
On all members.
So if a NATO country, right, were to be drawn into this conflict, it would trigger this collective response, right?
A collective response.
Potentially leading to a full-blown war.
Full-blown war.
Between Russia and the West.
Those are some truly terrifying scenarios.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even wrap our heads around the potential consequences.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the geopolitical maneuvering, right? And the strategic analysis.
Yeah.
But we can't lose sight of the fact that real people
Right.
are at the heart of this conflict.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, millions of Ukrainians they're living under this constant threat.
Constant threat.
Their lives have been upended. Their futures are uncertain.
Uncertain. And even if the fighting were to stop tomorrow, I mean, the scars of this war are going to linger for generations
to come. It's a sobering thought.
It is.
And it makes Zelensky's choices all the more agonizing.
Agonizing, yeah.
If he steps down, what happens next?
Yeah.
I mean, this report it kind of delves into the potential implications, right, of a leadership vacuum.
A leadership vacuum
in Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, as we've discussed, right, it's not a simple matter, of him just resigning and someone else stepping in. I mean, martial law, it complicates things.
Complicates things, right?
And holding an election amidst a war.
It's almost impossible.
It's practically impossible.
So what happens, right?
Yeah.
To the leadership of Ukraine if Zelensky's like out of the picture.
Right.
I mean, what happens?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But a few, potential outcomes emerge.
Potential outcomes, yeah.
So one possibility is that a caretaker government is formed.
Caretaker government.
Perhaps led by the current prime minister.
Current prime minister.
Or another high-ranking, official.
A high-ranking official.
And this government would likely prioritize maintaining stability. And continuing the war effort.
The war effort, yeah.
Until a new president can be elected.
But wouldn't that just like add another layer, of uncertainty?
Of uncertainty to an already volatile situation.
Yeah.
Could it potentially create, more instability?
Yeah, instability.
At a time when Ukraine really, really needs like strong and decisive leadership.
Decisive leadership.
It certainly could.
It could.
And it's important to remember, right? That Ukraine's political landscape, it's complex.
It's complex.
It's fragmented.
It is.
And Zelensky's departure, right?
Yeah.
It could create this power vacuum. That rival politicians, they would try to exploit. Potentially leading to internal divisions.
Yeah.
And political infighting at the worst possible time.
At the worst possible time.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that that Valery Zelensky.
Yeah.
Is seen as a potential successor.
Potential successor.
I mean, what are the chances that he steps in, and takes the helm?
He's definitely a strong contender.
A strong contender.
I mean, with his military background.
Military background.
And his positive public image. He's also perceived as being more hawkish on Russia.
More hawkish.
Which could appeal to those who, favor a more aggressive approach. To the war.
Yeah.
Right.
But would he be able to unite, a fractured country?
Right.
Could he effectively negotiate?
Yeah.
With Russia,
right.
Or maintain the support, right?
Support
of the West,
right? Which
seems to be, wavering,
yeah.
Under Trump's leadership.
These are crucial questions. With no easy answer.
No easy answers.
You're right.
Yeah.
Zelensky's leadership.
Yeah.
It would bring its own set, of challenges and opportunities. And it's entirely possible that, other figures could emerge, right?
Yeah.
As contenders for the presidency.
Yeah.
Perhaps from Zelensky's own party.
Okay.
Or from the opposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Further complicating the political landscape.
It sounds like Zelensky's decision, right?
Yeah.
On whether to stay
or go, yeah.
I mean, it could have this ripple effect,
Yeah.
Not just on the trajectory, right?
Trajectory
of the war.
But
on the entire future.
Yeah.
Of Ukraine.
Absolutely. It's a decision.
Yeah.
With profound implications.
Profound.
Not just for him personally, but for his country and for the world.
And while we try to make sense of all these high level political maneuvers,
right.
It's crucial to remember the human cost.
Oh yeah, the human cost
of this war.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's easy to, get caught up in the geopolitical chess game,
The chess game.
but we can't lose sight of the fact that, real people are suffering.
They are.
I mean, millions have been forced to flee their homes.
They're
Families have been torn apart.
torn apart.
And those who've stayed behind, I mean,
Yeah.
they're facing, unimaginable hardships.
They're living each day, right?
Yeah.
Under this shadow of war,
Right.
trying to find some semblance
Yeah.
of normalcy
Normalcy.
amidst the chaos and the uncertainty.
Yeah, their resilience is remarkable.
It is.
But the toll,
Yeah.
this conflict is immense.
It's a stark reminder
It is.
that war is never a solution.
Never.
It's only a tragedy
It's tragedy.
with consequences that reverberate
Yeah.
for generations.
For generations, precisely.
And as we continue, right,
Yeah.
to grapple with this complex situation,
Right.
it's essential, I think, to keep the human cost at the forefront of our minds.
It is. It is.
We're going to delve deeper, right,
Okay.
into the human impact,
The
right,
human impact. Yeah.
of this war in the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
exploring the stories
Yeah.
of those who are just caught in the crossfire
The crossfire.
and the challenges that they
The
face.
challenges they face.
But before we move on, I want to kind of shift gears slightly
Okay.
and talk about the broader implications
Yeah. Broader implications.
of this conflict
Okay.
for the world. What's at stake here.
I mean, this war has already shaken the foundations
These ramifications, yeah.
of the global order.
Global order.
And its outcome, it's going to have like profound and lasting consequences.
Profound and lasting consequences.
Profound and lasting consequences.
For international relations.
International relations.
It's a test
Yes.
of the strength
Yeah.
of democratic institutions.
Democratic institutions, yeah.
The resilience.
The resilience.
of the international, rules-based
the
system.
rules-based system.
And the willingness of the global community
Wonderful community.
to stand up
To stand up.
to aggression and to defend, human rights.
It feels like we're at this crossroads, right? This pivotal moment
Pivotal moment, yeah.
in history where the decisions that are made today,
Yeah.
they're gonna shape the world of tomorrow. That's an apt observation. The world is watching, right?
The world was watching.
And the choices that are made by leaders, right?
Yeah.
Like Zelensky, like Putin, and even Trump. I mean, they're going to determine whether we move towards a more peaceful
More
and cooperative future,
Okay.
or whether we, descend into this era of renewed conflict and instability.
So as this conflict, right?
Yeah.
It continues to unfold. I mean, what are the key things that we should be watching for?
Yeah.
What are the signposts, right?
Yeah. The signposting.
That will tell us, which direction we're heading in.
I think first and foremost,
First and foremost,
we have to pay close attention to the actions of the major players.
the major players.
The U.S., Russia, Ukraine, and the key European powers.
The European powers.
I mean, their decisions are going to determine, the course of the war and its ultimate outcome.
Can you break that down for us a bit?
Yeah, sure.
What specifically should we be looking for?
So from the U.S., right?
Yeah, from the U.S.
I think we need to see continued steadfast support
Steadfast.
for Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Both militarily and financially.
Militarily and financially, yeah.
I mean, a clear and consistent strategy
Strategy, yes.
from the Biden administration is crucial.
Crucial, okay.
One that balances,
Yeah.
the urgency, right?
The urgency, yeah.
Of a peaceful resolution with the importance, you know, of defending Ukrainian sovereignty.
Okay.
And deterring further Russian aggression.
And what about Russia? I mean, what are the warning signs, that we should be looking out for?
I think we need to remain vigilant for any signs, right?
Yeah.
Of escalation from Putin.
True.
Such as, a willingness to use tactical nuclear weapons,
Tactical nukes.
or to expand the war, right?
Beyond
Ukraine's borders.
Beyond Ukraine.
I think the impact, right?
The impact, yeah.
Of Western sanctions on the Russian economy, right?
Yeah.
And how that might affect Putin's, his hold on power.
His hold on power.
I mean, that's another like crucial factor.
Crucial factor, yeah.
Monitor.
And what about like Ukraine itself?
Yeah, Ukraine.
I mean, what are the key indicators, right, of their ability to withstand this onslaught?
I think we need to see continued unity and resolve.
Unity and resolve, okay.
From the Ukrainian people and their leadership.
Their leadership.
I mean, their determination, right, to defend their homeland. It's been remarkable.
Remarkable, yeah.
But the question is, can they sustain it?
Sustain it
over the long haul.
Over the long haul.
Right. I mean, we also need to pay close attention to the evolving military situation.
The evolving, yeah.
On the ground.
Okay.
And to Ukraine's ability, to withstand the ongoing Russian offensives.
And finally, what about the role of Europe here?
Yeah, Europe.
I mean, they've been vocal.
Yeah.
In their support, right?
Yeah.
For Ukraine.
For Ukraine.
But can they maintain like a united front,
Yeah.
in the face of mounting pressure?
I think Europe they need to demonstrate, right, unwavering support for Ukraine, both in words and in action.
Yeah.
I mean, maintaining a united front.
A united front, yeah.
Against Russia, it's crucial.
It is.
As is taking concrete steps to reduce their dependence.
Their dependence, yeah.
On Russian energy.
Russian energy, yeah.
And to strengthen their own defense capabilities.
Their own defense capabilities.
I mean, this war has exposed Europe's vulnerabilities.
Vulnerabilities, right.
And their response, it's going to determine their future security and their role in this emerging global order.
It seems like there are a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle,
Yeah.
And the situation is it's constantly evolving.
Constantly.
It's hard to predict like what the future holds, but it's clear that the stakes they're incredibly high.
Incredibly high.
Not just for the countries that are directly involved, right?
Right.
But for the entire world.
That's exactly right. The world is watching.
The world is watching.
And the decisions that are made, in the coming months, in the coming years,
yeah.
I mean, they're going to have like far-reaching consequences for all of us.
All of us.
It's a time for clear-eyed assessments, right?
Clear-eyed.
Strategic thinking and a commitment to, upholding the values of
democracy,
of freedom, and of human dignity.
You've given us a lot to think about, and I really appreciate your insights.
Oh, of course.
And your expertise with us, today.
Yeah.
It's clear that the Ukraine-Russia war, I mean, this is a watershed moment.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a defining chapter in 21st century history.
It is.
And its implications, they're going to continue, right?
Yeah.
To shape the global landscape for years to come.
They are. So it's been my pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And as we kind of conclude this deep dive. I want to emphasize that the situation in Ukraine, it remains fluid and unpredictable.
Fluid and unpredictable.
I mean, it's important, right? To stay engaged.
Engaged, yeah.
To continue, learning.
Learning, yeah.
And to be prepared, right?
Yeah.
For further twists and turns,
Twists and turns, yeah.
In this ongoing saga.
You've given us a lot to ponder.
Oh, good.
And I hope, our listeners they feel empowered.
Yeah.
To take action.
To take action.
In whatever way,
whatever way they can, right?
Whatever way they can.
To support the people of Ukraine.
The people of Ukraine.
And to contribute,
Yeah.
To a more peaceful world.
A more peaceful world.
I mean, this conflict, it's laid bare.
Laid bare.
The fragility of peace.
Fragility.
And the importance, right, of standing up.
Standing up.
For democratic values.
Democratic values.
And human rights.
Human rights.
Both in, our own community.
Our own community.
And on the global stage.
Those are lessons that we can't afford to forget.
We can't.
Thank you for for joining us
Of course.
on this deep dive
Deep dive.
into the Ukraine-Russia war.
Yeah.
We'll continue to follow this story as it unfolds.
It will.
And we'll be back soon with another compelling topic
Okay.
to explore. But until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Do well.